All right, let's talk about Elon Musk. Now, he said plenty of things that have made headlines, but there's one joke he keeps making that might just be the key to his entire worldview. We're going to dive into aliens, the silence of the universe, and how all of it connects directly to his mission to get humanity to Mars. So, he said this at a recent tech event in Paris. And, of course, everyone laughed. But here's the thing. What if this isn't just a joke? What if it's actually the perfect doorway to one of the biggest questions we could possibly ask? Because when you really start to peel back the layers of this little one-liner, you find the exact philosophy that drives pretty much everything he does with SpaceX. So picture this. He's at the Viva Tech event. The mood is light. But hiding right behind that humor is a really profound and honestly pretty serious argument. See, Musk has said over and over that he's seen no evidence of aliens. And for him, this isn't just some casual observation. It's the central problem he thinks humanity needs to solve. And this brings us right to the heart of his thinking. He's not just, idly wondering about aliens. He's looking at the total silence of the universe and drawing a conclusion that's both terrifying and, for him, incredibly motivating. This quote right here, it captures his entire idea perfectly. This isn't about little green men or flying saucers. For him, it's about how unbelievably rare and precious consciousness itself might be. And if we are the only ones, well, that puts an incredible responsibility on our shoulders. Okay, so to really get where Musk is coming from, you have to understand the Fermi paradox. Basically, the math suggests our galaxy should be absolutely buzzing with life, full of advanced civilizations, but when we listen, we hear nothing. Just silence. That huge contradiction is the foundation for Musk's entire argument for going to space. So let's just walk through his logic here. He starts with the idea that the silence is a real data point. That leads him to something called the Great Filter, some kind of massive hurdle that intelligent life almost never gets past. His conclusion? Our consciousness, our ability to wonder about the universe, might be a complete fluke, like a tiny candle in an endless dark room. And that makes his mission crystal clear. SpaceX isn't just for adventure, it's a backup drive for humanity, a way to protect that candle before it flickers out. But is that the only way to read the silence? I mean, not everyone buys into Musk's urgent conclusion. And this is where Harvard cosmologist Avi Loeb comes in, because he has a very powerful and very different take on all of this. This is just such a brilliant analogy, right? Loeb is basically saying that Musk's claim of no evidence is way too early. He argues that our search for alien life, when you compare it to the sheer size of space and time, has been ridiculously small. It's like we've barely even glanced out the window, let alone searched the entire city. And this slide just puts the two views in a head-to-head clash. You have Musk, the engineer, who's basically saying, I don't have the data, so it doesn't exist. But then you have Loeb, the scientist, who fires back, well, you can't claim there's no data when you haven't even really looked for it. It's a classic philosophical divide. And Loeb says, hey, we have seen some weird things, kind of like strange packages showing up in our cosmic mailbox that maybe we're ignoring. Things like Oumuamua, that bizarre object that sped up for no reason as it was leaving. Or those two interstellar meteors, IM-1 and IM-2, which were made of stuff way tougher than any space rock we've ever cataloged. Loeb's point is, maybe the evidence is right in front of us, and we're just not looking at it with the right mindset. I mean, this is the obvious question, isn't it? Do you side with the pragmatic entrepreneur who's preparing for the worst-case scenario, or the curious scientist who's arguing we need to investigate more before we jump to conclusions? But what if this isn't about one person being right and the other being wrong? What if we're looking at two totally different and maybe even equally valid ways of dealing with the same deep uncertainty? This is where we kind of synthesize these two big ideas. We're all facing the same silent cosmos. So the real question becomes, what's the smartest thing for humanity to do about it? Do we start building or do we start listening? It really all boils down to this table. For Musk, the entrepreneur, the problem is that we're fragile, so the solution is to expand and the motivation is survival. For Loeb, the scientist, the problem is that we're ignorant, so the solution is to search and the motivation is pure curiosity. They're two completely different paths, but they both start from the exact same place. And that brings us right back to where we started. We began with a simple joke about being an alien, and we landed on one of the most important choices humanity could possibly face.
Because what this all really means is that this is way more than just a fun thought experiment. This is a very real debate about where we put our money, our resources, and our energy as a species. What do we value more, security or knowledge?
So at the end of the day, the question that Musk and Loeb are forcing us all to confront is this one. Faced with this great cosmic silence, where do we place our bets? Do we pour everything into building a lifeboat to escape a disaster we can't even see yet? Or do we invest in better ears, listening more closely for a message in a bottle, hoping to finally find out that we're not alone after all? The answer to that is probably going to define our future.